The most revealing thing about a leader isn't how they celebrate, it's how they decide when every option costs something. Welcome back to Leadership Word by Word, where we take one word or a phrase, pull it apart, and find out what it's genuinely trying to teach us about how we lead. Each episode, we go deep on language because the phrases that live in leadership conversations carry more than we usually stop to notice. Some of them are comfortable, some of them are aspirational. Today's phrase is neither. Today's phrase is one leaders say quietly, usually to themselves, usually at the worst possible moment. The phrase, between a rock and a hard place. Let's go there. The phrase is American, and its roots are specific. The earliest 20th century, the American West, 1917 to be precise, a copper mine labor dispute in Bisbee, Arizona. Mine workers there were caught in a situation that gave the phrase its earliest documented use. They faced brutal conditions if they stayed, the rock, and financial ruin if they walked away, the hard place. Neither option was acceptable. Both were real, and the language they reached for to describe their conditions has been in the English language ever since. But the idea behind the phrase, that goes back much further. In ancient Greece, Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus faced two sea monsters. No clean passage, no safe route, only a choice about which danger to risk. The dilemma? Two real options, both of which cost something. That's as old as human decision making itself. Only the language changes. What doesn't change is the pressure of having to choose. So here's the truth about leadership that most leadership development programs won't say plainly. The most important decision you will make as a leader will not be between right and wrong. It'll be a decision between wrong and wrong, between two options that both carry real costs, between two people that both deserve better, between a short term pain and a long term pain. This is not the exception. This is the job. And there are three predictable ways leaders get it wrong. The first is waiting for the rock to move. The belief that if the decision is deferred long enough, the situation will somehow improve, that new information will arrive, that the pressure will ease. Sometimes strategic patience is exactly right, but there's a critical difference between strategic patience and conflict avoidance. Strategic patience has a logic and a trigger. Conflict avoidance is the hope that inaction will be less costly than a decision. It almost never is. The second is outsourcing the discomfort, the endless consultation process, the committee formed to share accountability. These situations or solutions can be dressed up as collaboration, and genuine consultation is valuable. But there's a difference between consulting to make a better decision and consulting to avoid making one at all. The decision belongs to the leader. The accountability cannot be fully distributed. The third is pretending the hard option is easy. Once a difficult decision has been made, there's a temptation to present it as having been obvious, to project confidence, to prevent second guessing. But the people most affected already know the truth. And when the leader's public account doesn't match their lived experience, something really erodes trust. And it's extremely hard to rebuild. So, what does good decision making look like under this kind of pressure? Here are three ways that leaders who navigate it best. Tip one, do the values work before the pressure arrives. The most important preparation for a hard decision is the work that happens long before any specific decision exists. Leaders who decide well under pressure have usually already worked out specifically, not in the abstract, what they value most when two things they care about are in conflict. They know in advance which hurt they can live with. This isn't rigidity, it's the possession of a value hierarchy clear enough to be useful when the moment is real and the clock is running. Tip 2, name the dilemma honestly. When you are between a rock and a hard place, say so, at least to yourself and to those closest to the decision. Don't soft pedal a version. Talk about the actual version. Both of these options carry real costs. Here's what option A cost. Here's what option B cost. Here's what I value most, and here's where I landed. That kind of conversation is honesty, not weakness. It's the foundation of genuine trust, and it's rarer than it should be. Tip 3, own the decision, including the cost. After the call is made, don't rewrite the reasoning. Don't pretend it was simple. Don't minimize what was lost. Be present for the people who bore the heaviest part of the outcome. Not as a performance of empathy, but really as a genuine acknowledgement that leadership decisions affect real lives. That acknowledgement, honestly given, is what trust is built from. Here's the question I want you to take forward into this week. When you face a decision where both options cost something real, are you deciding from your values or are you waiting for the pressure to tell you what to do? Because there's a version of leadership where the situation makes the choice for you. And there's a version where you make it clearly, honestly, and accountably. Only one of those builds the kind of trust that lasts. If this episode gave you something real, a framework you didn't have before, a question you want to sit with, please like this video. It helps other leaders find the content. And if you know someone navigating a genuinely hard decision right now, share it with them. Sometimes the most useful thing is simply knowing that the difficulty is normal. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Leadership Word by Word. New episodes every month, one phrase, real depth, no filler. In closing, remember the phrase, between a rock and a hard place, has been with us in one form or another since Homer. Because the dilemma, two real costs, one unavoidable choice, has never stopped being part of the human condition. What has separated leaders from everyone else is not the absence of the rock and the hard place. It's what they do when they're standing between them. Decide well, own it fully. See you next episode of Leadership Word by Word, where I talk about the phrase, pull the trigger, as it relates to decision making.